discrimination?
Naturally. I was born in Ukraine. Odessa is a Ukraine, and in Ukraine there is a lot of persecution and animosity towards Jewish people, especially in Odessa, where there was a greater Jewish population.
Now, I'm told that every other person in Odessa has Jewish blood. Is that true?
I don't know. It seems like it was a lot. It seems like it was a small amount of us and a whole lot more of them.
How did you become a champion gymnast?
Well, I simply, at one point in my life, enrolled into what is natural for the Soviet boy to do, just the gymnastic. Actually, it's acrobatic, or it is called in the United States acrogymnastics.
Were your parents athletes?
My parents both doctors. My father's a doctor, a radiologist. My mother's a dentist. So naturally, they did not like that. Especially, what is a Jewish boy doing in this sport, you know?
And especially when you wound up in the circus.
And eventually, yes. Eventually, I actually was invited to Moscow Circus. But I started out just trying just for my physical improvement, and I was just very good at this, and I was just good at this, and I began to grow in this sport, and eventually went from Odessa to Volgograd, where I finished University of Physical Culture and Sport, where during my university years I progressed tremendously in the sport, and I became a national champion among the schools of highest athletic achievements. I was master of sport of the entire Soviet Union.
Well, why did you want to leave?
Well, after I became a member of a national Soviet team, Moscow Circus, and finished Soviet Army, Moscow Circus invited me, which I was very happy. I was really happy to go to be with Moscow Circus. It was a tremendous experience for me. We traveled, but not that long after I became a part of Moscow Circus. One of acrobats work in partners. If you see the 3 or 4 people working, throwing each other in the air and catching. Well, yes. One of my partners called me a dirty Jew. And that hurts. I heard that name before from a very young age. When I was first maybe 4 years old, little boys called me, that I was Jewish in a nasty way. And that's how I discovered that I was Jewish. I asked my parents.
So you weren't raised with the Jewish holidays or bar mitzvah or things like that?
No, we had Passover at our home, kept very quietly among ourselves, and not much ever talk about God at all. So I was born into atheistic home, even though my great-grandfather was a rabbi in the Tsar's Russia.
So your partner, your close partner, calls you a dirty Jew.
He calls me while we work in Bulgaria. We were working in Bulgaria. It was 1972. Everything was going very good for me. I mean, fantastic. I traveled. I did what I do best, and the applause. There was one of the best numbers in the Moscow Circus that I was part of. I was making a lot of money at that time, and suddenly such a fiasco. He got drunk and began to call me dirty Jew. You're a Jewish pig. You're a dirty Jew. Over and over again. Later on, he did apologize, but at that moment when he said that, actually, I started a fight, as I often would do that. I would fight for my nationality, and I had a fight with him, and as we fought, suddenly something struck me. And again, it was a supernatural experience. I felt strongly that what am I doing in this country? I have to leave. Yes, I am a Jew.
Was it easy for you to leave the country?
It was, my struggle began at that point. Up until this point, everything was smooth. But my struggle began at that point. So I immediately came back. When we came back to Russia, we were in Bulgaria working. That happened. And I felt that, what am I doing in Russia? I have to leave. And I stopped fighting. And kind of a peace came upon me. I just knew that what I have to do, I have to leave Soviet Union. I have to leave Russia. And at that time, Jewish people were leaving, just began to leave Soviet Union. So I left, I went back to Odessa, to Moscow, resigned from Moscow Circus, like did 1, 2, 3, came back, resigned, came back to my city of Odessa, and with ask through my relatives and to give me to send to me an invitation to come to Israel, because at that point we could not go to America. We had to go to Israel.
Now, the KGB was very active at that point. Did they give you any problems?
We had immediately, I was not able to get any job at all.
But you're a champion. How come?
They think very little of anyone. They thought at that point very little of anyone that wanted to leave Soviet Union. I was considered to be an enemy of state gymnastics. Just that time, Olga Korbut came into America, and so
sure,
and I was
America's darling.
there you go, and everybody suddenly liked gymnastics or that type of activity, and I was also very good. I knew it very well, the sport, and I liked children, and I began to work with them, and actually, I started my own business. By simply writing letters, maybe 500 letters to different people to come to my own school, which I would open in the evening at the gymnasium of a regular school.
Wait, you actually trained some of our Olympic people.
No, not Olympic, but national champions.
You
and the world. And the world champions.
So you're doing so well. You have one of the most successful businesses there. You started with nothing. So why did you start going to cocaine and drugs?
Well, there you go. See, I started with nothing and started and build my business. My team became national champion of the United States. I put myself back into working out and performing because all this time I had to quit. And I was forbidden to work in Russia, and by the time I got myself situated here in the United States, I was out of shape, so I put myself back and won national championship again and again, like 4 times in a row, and my team became the #1 in the United States. My school swelled up to, I had 3 schools at that time. 500 people, one school, a couple hundred people, the other school.
But why the drugs?
And so having that much, I began to make a lot of money, and I tried everything in life at this point. I was single. I had nothing but cash, no property, nothing. My business was doing very well. Eventually, all network shows began to invite me to perform on national television. Johnny Carson, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, Saturday Night Live, and you name it, all of them. I performed on all of them. Rolling Stones asked me to be an opening number for them. So I realized I was very good and I've achieved everything, just about everything I wanted to achieve, but something was not satisfied. I was still looking for something, and I was wondering why. I live in communism. Now I live in capitalism. I was poor, I was famous, I was unfamous, I was rich. At least by my understandings, I was rich, and by my family understandings. But I was not fulfilled. My heart was not fulfilled, and I was looking for something else. And I thought, you've tried everything in your life. What have you not tried yet? And I thought for a while. I always smoked and always drank, but I've never tried drugs. And I thought, there you go. I've never tried drugs. In fact, my friend said to me, Igor, you know what? You've never tried drugs. Why don't you try one time? I said, sure, why not? And I tried. I tried a simple marijuana, which led me eventually to all kinds of drugs. Almost instantly, I liked it, and went into speed and cocaine until I became addicted.
So were you fulfilled as an addict?
At the beginning, I thought that was the missing link. And but very quickly, when I was caught in this, I couldn't quit. And the moment I could always quit drinking easily, and had that power within me. I knew that. Quit hospital and everything. I was afraid because I was on drugs. So I turned on television, and I'm sitting in bed, and suddenly I see a finger right out of this darkness appears on television, and a face of a man crying, "You are in bed, drunk and sick." That was me.
Did you realize he was talking to you?
I thought he was talking to me exactly, but I couldn't understand how could he. It was so real to me at this moment. It was like scoring my heart, right? Hit me right into my heart. Of course, I would never watch that type of show otherwise. And I didn't even know there was a Christian show. If I would know there was a Christian show, I would probably switch it immediately. But again, he exactly pinpointed where I was. And then he says, and nobody can help you. He said, your friends can help you. They're just like you. Your parents cannot help you. You are afraid to tell them about it. And that was exactly what I was at. The hospital cannot help you. Otherwise, we won't have this problem. And I said, that's right. And you cannot help yourself because you are trying surely hard, but cannot. But I know someone who can. And I said, oh, who could that be? Believe it or not, I took a pen out of my pocket. And I thought, what is his name? And I was just sitting there and waiting for the name. I don't remember what he said. But all throughout his speech, he was crying and saying something about Israel. And I was waiting, when is he going to give me the name? He didn't say it. But at the end he said, look, repeat after me. And that's all I remember. And I said, okay, I repeat. And I repeated after him. It was the sinner's prayer. I didn't even know that it was a sinner's prayer. I just repeat after him. Whatever he said, I repeat. And at the end, he said in Jesus' name, and I said in Jesus' name, and then suddenly tears start coming from my ears, from my eyes. I'm sorry, and I was glad nobody was around because I never cried up until this point. And I quickly forgot about this whole experience. Nothing has changed for 4 months. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Just like I even forgot it happened.
So you look for a little fun in Las Vegas. You're with a friend, and I guess it's at night. What happened?
Right, we're going to Vegas to gamble, and 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm extremely disappointed with my life. Extremely to what my life have become. I lie down in bed, and I just, in my heart, I just so distressed. And I said, I need help. I need help. What have I done with my life? Where do I go? Do I go back to that depression from drugs? I ran away. I mean, from that emptiness. I ran away from the emptiness to drugs. Now I'm in depression. What is to life? What is to life, period? And at that moment, it was dark, 4 o'clock in the morning. I remember that day. It was in July. It was 31st of July and 1st of August night. It was very dark, and suddenly out of darkness I hear the voice, Igor. Well, first, of course, I thought I cracked up.
Had you ever heard a voice like that?
I didn't hear. I don't hear voices, and I never heard a voice. Well, anyway, it is. He says, "You just call upon me." And I say, "What is going on? Who am I hearing? Who is it?" I began to wrestle in my mind, and he says, "I am your God." Oh my God! I'm thinking, I cracked up. That's it. That's how it feels when you crack. I mean, just a voice maybe, but God doesn't exist. And I actually said to him, "But you don't exist."
You said that?
I said verbally.
To God, you don't exist.
Can you imagine that? How blind sometimes we can be. And I say to him, "You do not exist." And he said to me, "But what are you going to do with me?"